let's talk about the persuasive outline. So, once you have your topic question, it's been developed and you have gotten it approved by the professor, it is time to develop an outline. So, in your outline, you are going to be typing this outline and making sure that you use the tools available to you in Microsoft Word in order to get all of the outline formatting correct, or you can simply download the template and type your information in there. So this document that I'm going over right now is actually going to be completely available to you, and you don't have to recreate it. You can just type in it itself. All right, so I would recommend developing the body of your speech before you develop the introduction. So you will need to have your question and answer ready for you, and then go ahead and develop what you think will be your first main point, second main point, third main point. However, once you've done the organization process and it's time to start typing, you can type from top to bottom. That's fine. So be sure that you have your name, date, class, and professor on there. You've got persuasive outline at the top. You have introduction. And I want you to actually keep these labels. These we could call labels or titles or tags. The name of each subpoint, I want you to keep those in there. Don't take those out. And then have a colon, and then you put your information. So your attention getting device, please do not start by introducing yourself. Do not start by saying my topic is, and do not start with a question. The only question you should have in your whole outline and your whole speech should be your topic question. So what I would love for you to do is start with a story of someone affected by the topic or some background about the topic, then give the source where that information came from in speech style, which is just the name of the publication and the date. So not a greeting, question, or stating your topic. So for example, Nora was on her way to the store when, and you're going to fill in the rest of that story. And then at the end of the story, say this story was reported by the New York Times of May 27th, 2020. The next thing you're going to do is link to your question or connect to your question. And this will be a sentence or part of a sentence that simply tells us what's coming next is the question. For example, this prompts the question, and that's all you need there. Or this makes us ask, or something like that. Then you'll have your question and answer. So the exact wording of the question that was approved by your professor and your answer without words like I think, I believe, etc. You need to firmly take a side. So for example, if you have a yes or no question, is it time to defund the police? No. Or your answer could be yes. Or a more open-ended question, how should the United States improve its police practices? Through a complete overhaul. Okay, so that's a really short answer, but it clearly takes a side. And then your preview of main points will be one concise sentence that names each point in the order you will discuss it. Your order of main points should be problem, cause, solution, or 3 reasons. So if my topic is it time to defund the police, and I say no, then my preview of main points would go something like, today we will discuss 3 reasons that the police should not be defunded. This, and this. Or we will talk about the problems, causes, and solutions to police departments. Okay? Notice I'm using we language. I'm not saying I'm going to talk about, I'm going to persuade you, I'm going to tell you. The words I and you should not appear in most any outlines or speeches for the persuasive, with very few examples or exceptions. Next, you have the body of your speech, and it will start with your first main point. So you're going to replace this with what applies to your speech rather than leaving it in here like this. So if your first main point is problem, all that needs to go there is problem. And then you have an option to have an internal preview if you'd like. The problem has two parts to it: the citizens and the police. If you want to use the internal preview. If you don't want to use internal previews, you don't have to. Just don't have it at all. But it will say A, problem. Or if you have 3 reasons, and your first reason is the police get a bad rap, then you just replace it with the police get a bad rap. Or if you're taking the other side, you'd say the police get away with too much. A would just say the police get away with too much. And then next you'll have your first subpoint, and this is a subordinate point, so a part of the main point that of the problems, or the police get away with too much, or the police get a bad rap, depending on the direction that you're going. So instead of it saying subpoint 1, I'm going to replace that with the name that I gave it. So maybe one of my subpoints is the citizens. So I would replace subpoint 1 with the words the citizens. And then subpoint 2 is the police. I'd replace subpoint 2 with the words the police. And again, you have this option to have an internal transition, which would be reviewing the last subpoint and previewing the next subpoint. You only need that if you've used an internal preview. If you don't want to worry about internal review preview stuff and internal previews, that's fine. Just use a word like next or second to indicate that you've moved on to the second subpoint. Both of these subpoints should have 2 different sources. You can see in this example I have the same exact source from the same exact date. That's just a placeholder. You need different subpoints and different sources of information. Additionally, you need 1 sentence per subpoint. Do not write a paragraph, just 1 sentence per subpoint. Your outline should not be a manuscript. If you read your outline aloud, it should not fill the whole time. Your outline is just a blueprint or roadmap of where you intend to go. It's not your entire speech. Your speech should be delivered extemporaneously, which is limited preparation. It's sort of like planned spontaneity, because you have a basic plan of what you're going to say, but you do not have every word written out. If you have more than 1 sentence per subpoint, you probably have too much. Next, you have a transition between main points. So you're going to review the first main point. Now that we understand the problems, preview the next subpoint, we can talk about the causes. Or now that we understand that the police get away with too much, we can talk about how we let them get away with too much. Whatever your main points are. And then you'll go through the same process here, where you have another main point, and then you'll do the same for your third main point, except your transition should say, now that we've talked about problems and causes, we can talk about solutions. Or now that we've talked about the police getting away with too much, us letting them get away with too much, we can talk about problems with funding. Whatever your main points are. And then after you've finished all of your main points, you will get to your conclusion. And your conclusion should start with a review of main points or a wrap-up. And this is the preview in the past tense. So if your preview of main points, which is the last sentence of your introduction, was something like, today we will discuss the problems, causes, and solutions of our police departments, then your review of main points will be, today we have discussed the problems, causes, and solutions of our police departments. Or today we have discussed how the police get away with too much, how we've let them get away with too much, and the problems with our funding. So just one sentence that reminds us what those 3 main points were in the order that you covered them. Basically, you could copy paste your preview and just change it from "we will discuss" to "we have discussed." You are going to return to the question and answer, and this question and answer should be the exact wording as it was in your introduction. Make sure you return to the attention-getting device, and this won't be word for word, but make sure you refer to whatever you opened with. And then your closing impact or lasting thought should give a sense of finality without saying, "Thank you, I'm done, that's it." Don't include any new information in the conclusion. Don't include your sources in the conclusion, and do not end on a question. All right, so once you are finished with the meat of your outline, you will have your reference page. Remember, you need at least 7 sources. So if you've followed my recommendations, you will have a source for your attention getter, and then 2 sources in each point, so a source for each subpoint of your main points, and there's your 7 sources. So I have gone ahead and created a hanging paragraph there for you. You can also create a hanging paragraph in Word yourself if you'd like to by going to Paragraph, Special, and selecting Hanging. Make sure that you're using APA formatting, and I highly recommend using the library databases for this because you can literally click the cite button and get the sources cited correctly. Make sure you're alphabetizing by authors' last names, and that you're actually using APA. Okay, so I am looking forward to seeing these outlines and hearing your speeches. Please be sure to chat with your professor, with your tutors, with librarians if you need any support along the way.